What's up? So thanks for joining me for the assembly stream today. If you're joining in the future, feel free to click through, see the different steps, the different rackets. I can't really rush the process, it takes a while, so I can't guarantee sustained entertainment, but you might learn something if you haven't assembled a racket before. And if you have, you can give me feedback on what I'm doing wrong. Give me a second. Need proper footwear when you're assembling rackets. It's very important. Preferably table tennis footwear. Alright. I'll have to make sure I don't step on the cord too much. I also realize I have the camera set up a little bit high, so let me figure that out real quick. Make some adjustments there. Getting there. Mainly, I just want to be able to see the screen in case someone says something. All right, let's see. So when you assemble, I'll stick it on the head like that. Looks good. Yeah, it's all there. All right. So I'm not going to waste too much time, although I always do waste some time. We've got our instructions here. A few different rackets we're going to go through. Make sure I got everything set up correctly. First off, we'll start with this one. I don't know what brand this is. I'm pretty sure I was told it's not like an authentic one, but could be wrong. It says DHS, has the picture of Sun Ying Shaw on it. Looks cool. We're gonna make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, the Hurricane 3. This is Hurricane 3, 39 degrees, 2.15 black. Hurricane 880, 2.1. 37 degrees red. That'll go on this blade with Shasha's face on the bottom. Here's the Malong blade. This one is real, so I assume, I don't know, I don't assume anything. It's got Malong's face on the bottom. Enjoy that. All right, get the close up. And we're gonna be taking off both rubbers and putting on a Dignix 09C from this blade and a new Hurricane 3 red, 37 degrees. 2.1 on the back. All right. This one I'm taking off the 09C. I'm leaving this one on for another day. And this one I'm removing the purple rubber, the Dawei 388C, and putting on a Hurricane 9 pink rubber. So we got our work cut out for us. Won't waste too much more time, like I said. I'll try and keep some of the weights on here and try and keep track of what I'm doing. All right, first, real quick, let's weigh this Sun Ying Shaw blade. Okay, let's say keep a clean workspace, although I don't do a good job of it. What's up, one viewer? Hey, what's up, Max? How's it going? We got some assembly to do today. Shasha says hello. Says, hey, Max. And Malong's here too. He'll say hi in a second. Although, like I said, I don't think this is a real DHS blade. I think it's a clone, I believe. But we're gonna weigh it anyway. 89.46, I believe. All right, so that's the Shasha clone, which is like the DHS blade. I think is called the 301. Pretty cool blade. It's getting more popular. I think it's not as expensive as some of the other ones, like the Malong or the Wang Chuqin. All right, that's that. We'll assemble that in a moment. This one. Hey, what's up? Oh yeah, Malong says, hey Max. It's Max Long. There you go. It's pretty funny to have blades with the little faces in the thing. I don't have any DHS blades that I use myself, but it is kind of, I don't know, I guess a lot of respect to the player. Kind of a cool little thing. I do notice that, okay, on this supposed clone blade, the photo's a lot darker, so maybe that's a clue. I don't know. But yeah, so this Malong blade is real as far as I know. The Hurricane Long. It's been used quite a bit, you can see, and I believe I'm taking off both rubbers. And the fact that it has this side tape on makes me believe I might have assembled it at one point. And if so, look, still holding up strong. So yeah, Malong, removing both. So yeah, I have a bunch of this butterfly side tape that I use. I like it. It's 12 millimeter. covers the rubbers all the way end to end if you have the max thickness inverted on both sides, and it's durable. And if you look around, you can get a good deal on it. So yeah, it shrunk a little bit, but I'm guessing I might have actually moved these rubbers from a different blade onto here. Yeah, thanks, Max. They're not mine, but I've been put in charge of assembling at the moment. So it's nice because it's always good to see some, you know, cool equipment. Yeah, just got to make sure I follow the instructions that I've written for myself. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not sure if those came from, if I put those on or not. I was expecting there to be some writing on the DHS blade, so it's totally possible this is a real DHS, I guess. I don't know, I didn't get that information. But it'd be pretty cool if it is. So then we have the real Ma-Long blade, the real Sun Ying shot blade. But let's weigh this Ma-Long blade in a second. Yeah, I think I remember this. So look at, oh yeah, for sure it's good side of it. Look, DHS blades have a tendency to splinter or delaminate a bit, and this blade had that problem a little bit. I'm not sure if someone fixed it at one point. I know I didn't do that, so I didn't fix it and I didn't break it, but that does happen. So if you buy DHS blades, it's important to get them sealed, either from who you're buying it or seal it yourself, because they're very fragile, like no matter what almost. I'd say, from what I've heard, the most common brand for like delamination issues are DHS blades. So let's see. Ma-Long blade. 90.62, right? Yeah. Just for our record keeping purposes. So, 89.46 for the Shasha, 90.62 for the Ma-Long. And then once the new rubbers go on, I'll weigh them as well. The Shasha gets 2 new rubbers. Ma-Long gets a new H3, but the 09C is coming from the other racket. So, not completely new. And I think after you use a rubber for a while, even if you glue this up, it weighs a little less. It like dries out a little bit in different ways. So that's why I kind of try and keep track of that. All right, we got these. Maybe I'll weigh these in a little bit, but I'm not going to get bogged down in those types of details in order to not make any mistakes. Okay, next up we got this Paleo Gold Palm blade. What's up, Real Shadow? How's it going? What beginner bat do I recommend? Okay, so it depends where you kind of live and what you have access to, but mainly I'll start with, like, in general, like a 5-ply all-wood blade in the all-round category. And then for rubbers, you want, like, I think, like, medium hardness rubbers, like around 45, 47 degrees. Not too grippy and sticky, but, you know, it's fine to have some grippiness. And you can be a little harder, a little softer, depending on what you want. Same with the blade. It could be a little faster, all-round plus, or a little slower, depending on what you have access to and if you're training hard and stuff. I just think, don't go too extreme. Don't go too fast of a blade at first, or don't go too hard of rubbers. But even if you go too soft of rubbers, that can be a little bit challenging too, because for like future practice, like if you start in the middle with the hardness and then an all-round blade, you'll be kind of prepared to move to whatever. Yeah, thanks, Max. So if you have like AliExpress, you can get a lot of cheap Chinese stuff. Like this brand, Paleo, is good. You can find a lot of stuff from Paleo. I'll show you this. This is another budget brand, 729. Sometimes you'll see it called Friendship or RITC. And these DHS blades and rackets are really good too. And they have plenty of like affordable stuff, because like the commercial version of H3 is about 30 bucks or less. The blades you can find for good things. So I would say don't overdo it in the beginning. The good thing about table tennis is you can start with pretty affordable stuff, and it actually works better for you. If you go like too crazy in the beginning, one, you don't know what you're looking for. Two, it might not be right for you, and then eventually you have to change it anyway. So whatever you get, stick with it for a little while. Get used to it. Even if it's too fast. Remember, my first like custom blade was a little too fast, but it's like, well, once you have it, just play with it for a while and figure it out. This Dignius 09C is a little bit off-centered, so I don't think I can fix that when I move it over, but whatever. So we're taking off the 09C from this blade. Wish us luck. Usually you want to peel like sideways or diagonally, not like perfectly straight up, because of the grain of the blades could be peeled off if you go like just with it. But I don't like to go completely sideways either, because I feel like that also can peel off in the wrong way. All right, so first we got this. I'm not doing anything else with this blade, so we're gonna put it away. That's like our theme today. If I'm not doing more with it, I'm moving it away from myself. So that one's good. That's a cool like green long pips, very bristly. It's called Dawei Saviga. I always thought Saviga was a brand, but actually it's a Dawei rubber. So Saviga V, I believe. Go into the pip zone real quick. The pips matrix, always kind of cool. Oh, look, here's another pips one. So you got purple and green pips. Some cool looking stuff. So you can see even among pips rubbers, there's differences, right? Look how the purple ones are bigger. These ones are like skinnier pips. Let's see if I can get them next to each other to make it. All right, so spacing between pips, grip on the pips, the shape, the bristliness, things like that, all different. All right, like I said. So that's the gold palm. I don't know anything about this blade. Yeah, it's got a little, the wood's coming off a little bit there. But anyway, take that one out of here. This one, okay, so I'm saving this 09C because that's going on the mall long blade here with the Hurricane. These two are going on there. And then on this one, I'm taking off the Dawei. Let's verify that. Remove Dawei purple, glue H9 pink. Yeah, so I have my instructions here just to not get mixed up. Something about the pips rubbers, I always tell pips people, like, if you have really bright colors for the pips, it like makes it advertises the different side a little more, I think, right? Like if someone has bright green, bright pink pips, and you see them switching, or you see the pips, in my mind, it's like, oh, there's the pips, you know, this is a special rubber. It like stands out in my mind. I think you're better off just black and red, but I get the style, like the style points for it. Yeah, for sure. AliExpress is good, and Table Tennis 11 good for sure, Max. And Mega Spin, if you're in the US, you can find some good deals too. So yeah, remove the purple. Step away from the purple. Let's see. So this one's like really skinny. I don't think there's any sponge on this rubber, so I'm gonna try to be really careful. See if I can save it. I'm not sure what I would use it for, but might as well try to save it. And the same, every rubber is different, every blade's different. This one feels like it's got like a softer surface. Maybe it's like glued in there a little more. I'm gonna try to get this off without ruining it. I'm gonna lay it down for a second. Yeah, shout out Mega Spin. That's where I get a lot of stuff. They got a good selection. You know, if you're in the US, it makes sense for a lot of stuff, especially if you're buying multiple brands, multiple, you know, sellers and things. You get the free shipping over 50. You can get a wide variety of things. A lot of stuff can be assembled that maybe you can't if you go directly through other places. Just depends on what you're getting. Table Tennis 11 is good, and historically it's always been a really good deal. Lately, you know, costs a little more to import from there, but they got good stuff too. And I like their equipment videos a lot. So if anyone's ever like looking for equipment reviews, you can check out Table Tennis 11's YouTube. They have some interesting ones. Even like on things that I don't really need to know about, like long pips rubbers. They have the Grass D-Tex videos and they tell you all about it. So at least I know a little bit about it. I could tell people like what I've learned about those things, but I haven't played with the long pips much at all, so I can't really give too much feedback in those areas. So this is pretty stuck on there. Guessing it's a combination of the glue that was used, this type of blade, like I'm saying, I can feel it's like very porous, like a non-sanded feeling. So maybe a soft wood, so it kind of absorbed in there. And then also the fact that there's no sponge on this rubber. It's just the sheet, the top sheet. And I just gotta be gentle with it. I'm gonna do my best not to ruin it. You never know, maybe I'll switch to long pips right now, right? Just decide. Just say, you know what? I'm a long pips player now. Good luck. Oh yeah, who's playing at the moment, Max? You know, I saw that stream was clicking up there. Maybe I'll put that on my computer in a second. I've been watching some of the NBA playoffs, but today I wasn't because Prime doesn't have them for free, and I didn't feel like dealing with finding a way to watch them. But been enjoying some of the real good games. I like the playoffs. But yeah, West Coast is good. Maybe I'll catch that a little later. I decided to do this like middle of the day because I need to rest this weekend. Gym's closed, and I got some stuff to do a little later. So I didn't want to put this off to the week because then with this much assembly, doing it during the week, it's like I end up staying late and doing it or something. Not ideal. I know I'm taking too long to get this rubber off, but I'm doing my best. Yeah, don't switch to the pips. Yeah, you're right. I think little by little, maybe I'll practice it a little more just so I could help people practice against pips. Yeah, as I do a little more coaching and things like that. So this is coming off a little bit. It's definitely a certain type of glue that was used on this. I can see it's not a normal table tennis glue appearance. So, okay, I mean, I can peel it off faster. I just don't want to stretch it out too much because it could tear or it could like deform the top sheet. And I'm trying to, it's always nice when you assemble rackets for someone if you can salvage the stuff that's coming off just in case you want to use it. Yeah, I guess stick this on a cheap racket and make a new setup for me or for someone else to try. All right, we saved it. It's pretty cool looking. I like the other colored sheets. I don't know, I've never used them on my racket, mainly because the stuff I'm using I don't think comes in the different colors, but and I haven't really been that tempted, but you never know. All right. And on this side, you got an Inventus XT Duo. Looks like it might have been moved from a different blade, I'm not sure. And then also when it was moved, maybe there's a little bit of glue under it or different spots. But overall, that came off clean. Hurricane 9's going on there. When you take off rubbers, try and wipe off any residue so you can get the smoothness. One thing I'm happy about today is these are all Hurricane or DHS rubbers. They all have hard sponges. And honestly, these days, I much prefer assembling rubbers with hard sponges. They kind of don't show the imperfections. That's why I love 09C so much, but now that I'm using Roxas 7 for a little while, I'm kind of like, that's one of the things that gets annoying because Roxas 7 does show the imperfections a little bit. I'm sure if I do it a few times, it'll be good again. The best glue, you're not sure, yeah, you're not sure. Okay, so I was using the Revolution 3 for a while. I like that. I bought the butterfly glue because I used to use it and I thought I kind of had like a case of nostalgia. I wanted to go back to it for some reason, but honestly, I don't like it as much as the Revolution 3. This GWO glue I used to not like. It dries kind of quickly, but not like clumpy like the DHS or Nitaku, but I actually like this GWO glue too. So GWO, Revolution 3, and that Donic Vario Clean glue are pretty much all the same. Butterfly glue's all right. It just seems like I have to use more, and then it ends up a little heavier or something. So yeah, I like this GWO glue. It's a good deal too. I didn't buy that, but it's still good. I don't like the Nitaku Fine Zip or the... I've never used the DHS, but it's the same. It's like a thicker glue, and I don't know if it's because we're here in Florida or what, but it dries so quickly. I can't even like begin to assemble before it's clumping up and drying up, and that really gets annoying. It worked when I watered it down a little bit, but otherwise, yeah, just the water-based glue is basic stuff. But Revolution 3 is like the cheapest. It gives you a lot of time to put it on, and it's good overall. I definitely no complaints for Revolution 3, actually. I just got mad that the bottom of my bottle was kind of like, it wasn't preserved as well as I would like, so I didn't get to use it all. But now looking back, I would rather not be able to use the bottom of the bottle, but enjoy the rest of it, versus not being able to like enjoy the glue, whatever that means. But easy. Revolution 3 is the easiest, so that's my answer. All right. This goes back here for now. This will go here. Let's see how it lines up. So we're going to be putting this 09C on here. Oh, it looks good. And actually, it's a little bigger. So potentially, I can fix the alignment a little bit, although I have to be careful. It looks kind of silly like that, but once I cut it, it'll work. Let's see. Yeah, so I have to be a little bit careful. I can't go all the way centered, but I can get close. So that's good. All right, so that's this one. And like I always say, you want to get the residue off, but when you're doing multiple blades and stuff, you have to be careful not to like wipe the residue off onto something else. So I'm going to try to do that actually now before I start assembly. It's always like a long preamble before I actually glue a single thing on these streams, I've realized, but what can you do? But yeah, that Westchester, I've been enjoying their streams. I've been enjoying the action on there. You know, they're putting a little more editing or commentary or scorekeeping, things like that. A little more flair to the streams to make it a little more engaging, let's say. But they've always had good matches, especially the videos they put up later. And I mean, you can't really beat their quality of like players that are consistently each month. They play during like blizzards. Respect to them for making it to the club when it's like crazy outside. All right, this is good enough. I'm not going to peel it too much because, like I said, the DHS blades are a little bit fragile, and I don't know to what extent this one will hold up to, like, all this cleaning, let's say. But anyway, okay. Boom. 1, 2. This one's new. That'll be nice. That one. So, get rid of the scale for now. Do a little bit of cleanup. A little bit of inventory. So let's see. First up, I will put this 09C on the forehand of this one. I have to remember, like I said, I have to remember to line it up a little better, but not all the way. I can line it up, so we gotta remember, I can line it up like the butterfly on the left part of the handle, because that'll at least get it a little more centered. Whereas if I like actually centered it where the rubber is now, it'd be like way over there, and that looks kind of weird. But I'll still maybe not do that 100% perfectly. Yeah, if you're moving rubbers from one racket to another, it's good to kind of put them on there before you put the glue, just to see. So this is an example, right? If I was like really going for it, I would get rid of this old glue with my glue remover method. I could do it, but it introduces like a whole nother layer of stuff. And this is a hard rubber. I think it'll make it. I think it'll be okay. It'll be fine. I'm not gonna open that can of worms right now. And then here we're gonna start with the forehand side on the Shasha blade, which is this H3. Keep a clean workstation. It's easier. So let's look at one of the rubbers for now. Hurricane 3. So this is a regular Hurricane 3, not a Neo. 39 degree, 2.15. Wasn't the cleanest open. Or that. This is a blue sponge, it looks like. This one might be provincial then. Provincial blue sponge. I was wondering which one was provincial because it wasn't that. So I'm not sure why this isn't opening easily. And like, I don't know if I said this, but I haven't been assembling DHS stuff much recently, but I'm not gonna take off the plastic films for assembly today because I watched enough videos. I used to do it. I like to take off the film typically on like 09C and stuff for whatever reason, but it seems like most people assemble these with the plastic on, and then that way when I cut it, I can leave that on and it doesn't pick up a bunch of dust and things before I get it back to the person whose racket it is. So that's my plan. Leave it on for now. So make sure. Shasha clone H3 black on the forehand side. Typically the forehand side is the side with the label, backhand side the side with no label. Some blades have labels both sides, and it doesn't really matter, just more feel. Some people don't like the feel of this on one side or the other. Some people like it like this, some people like that. It just depends. Real quick, let's look. Do they look pretty similar? Yeah, the handles and stuff. So yeah, okay, now we're gonna get gluing pretty soon, right? At least within the next hour, I'll put one layer of glue. Yeah, for sure, right? The Lakeland tournaments, we didn't know how good we had it for a while. For a little while, I thought they were going to bring them back pretty soon. They just wanted people to miss them a bit, but I think they just kind of, I don't know. It was a lot of work. You know, they obviously were so successful and brought in a lot of revenue with those, and people really enjoyed it, and they had such a good following for that. But it is a lot of work, I know, especially as, you know, you've been doing it a while and needing to find quality help. So hopefully, maybe there'll be some solutions. I mean, think about how many tables they have there. They had like 5 each row, times 4 rows, 20 tables. That's a nice setup. That's hard to replicate anywhere except the place with a couple of basketball gyms. You know, our gym in Long Center can do it to an extent if we have the gym time, which is hard to get, like the dedicated gym time, although it's not impossible and they have offered it before. It's just a lot of work to run the tournament. You know. But yeah, I'm with you. They were really good tournaments. Shout out to Lakeland, great club, and I'm fortunate, or I feel fortunate that I got to at least play them for about a year, right? That's when I kind of started playing tournaments for about the last year of those Lakeland ones, and they were going on for so long. But definitely, we didn't know. You know, sometimes you don't know how good you got it until it's gone. Let's try and clear this off a little bit. I don't know why, but this sponge came out of the package with a little bit of stuff already on it, so what can you do? What can you do besides clean it off a little bit, brush it off? So my goal, I'm just gonna try to do 1 layer of glue on each thing, 1 layer of glue on each rubber and each side of the blade. That's what I like to do. You can do more, but it's like extra weight. All right, I'm gonna start with this one. You know, sometimes these will too much, sometimes not enough. This is like a hard rubber, so it's not gonna absorb in quite as much. So let's try with that for the first one. And I always say like too, like the first one you glue, your sponge isn't full of glue yet, so it absorbs a little more. But I'm gonna try today with this glue. I trust this glue to behave quite well, so I'm not gonna overdo it. Just enough. Because you want to use enough glue to make sure it sticks really well, but you don't want to use so much that it like adds unnecessary weight to your racket. So this, I'm pretty happy with this amount that I just put on. Try and get it over everywhere. I guess I gotta leave a little bit for my finger. Like I say, always leave yourself space and leave yourself enough time that you don't feel rushed to do all this stuff. Because actually, ideally, in my opinion, you gotta make sure you let every layer dry completely. And then I also would prefer to like stick it on the blade and just let it sit there for a while before cutting. Because when you cut, it pulls it around a little bit, and that can create like little bits where it's not as adhered as you'd like. I'm content with this. I'm just kind of even out over here a little bit. Yeah, that's good. So that's enough. Should dry pretty clear. I guess I'll do it. I'll do a next one on this one. So this one's already got a little layer of glue on it from before. So also that's kind of another idea that if it's already got glue on it from before, it's not going to absorb in quite as much. But you want to put enough on to make like a nice even layer on top then. Right, so you don't mind putting a little extra in. It's funny, these days I'm not assembling quite as often. So it always feels a little bit like out of the groove, I guess, even though it's not like you forget how to do it. But when you're assembling a lot frequently, then you kind of just, it's like automatic. Although I don't necessarily care for it quite as much as I used to. I used to like it because you're kind of like always, every time you assemble something, you're kind of learning from it, fixing problems, different rubbers, different sponges, different blades, different glues. And even the environment, like when the seasons change, not that we have such extreme seasons here in Florida, but they do affect how much the air conditioner runs. The glue dries a little differently, I've learned. And like right now it does feel a little bit warm in here, which might, I'm not sure how that's gonna affect it, but it doesn't matter. All right, so those are done on the rubbers. You let those dry till they're clear. I'm gonna do the blades. The blades always dry a little quicker, but I'm gonna do it anyway right now. On the blades, it's good to put enough, right? Because if you don't put enough, I know it's not specific, but you don't want it to dry up too much while you're doing it, because then it starts to get gross on the blade. Although it is easier to solve the problem on the blade because you can just wipe it off and do it again. Whereas on a rubber or the sponge, it can get a little messy. But that's kind of part of the fun. Well, not the fun, but it's part of the process. And that's why these streams, you know, if someone were to watch every single assembly stream, there's always something like on one of the blades or something that goes a little bit haywire. And then on the blades, definitely don't overdo the brushing around because it dries quicker. And like I'm saying, so you say I sit here and keep like spreading around so it looks perfect. Then eventually one part here dries up and gives me like this clumpy gunkiness. Then I'm in a position where I'm like, well, what do I do? You know, do I fix it? Do I leave it? Since that's a new blade, I'm not sure that's sealed. It absorbed the glue pretty quickly. So I could feel that like drying up pretty quickly. I like these types of sponges, the yellow ones. I don't like the black sponges that come with butterfly stuff. That annoyed me last time too. So you learn that as well. Like Revolution 3 sponges are good. They're like the white foam, like almost like makeup. I don't know if it's makeup remover or makeup putter oner. Something involved with makeup type sponges. Cosmetic sponges, maybe that's what they call them. So this one I used a little more glue. Just I don't know. That's my tendency, I think. But also, like I said, now that the sponge has glue in it, it's not absorbing it quite as quickly. I'm gonna go like that. I'll fix it just a bit. This one's got plenty on, so I'm not so worried about it drying up quite yet. You can also tell by the way it looks. If it looks real glossy, then it's not quite dry yet. I'm trying to smooth it out just a little bit. This will be the last run through. So that's the same thing like with the harder rubbers, like I'm saying. Like that one, that's good. If you have real soft rubbers with like a thin sponge, or like, it is really soft rubbers and top sheets. It'll show the lines of the glue a little more, and it doesn't affect the play, but it looks not ideal. I don't like how it looks. And whereas the harder sponges don't really show through those imperfections, so just something to keep in mind. Water-based glue, you can always like wipe it off. I always recommend trying to learn to assemble rackets, even if it means like, say you buy an assembled racket, custom one, let's say. Then when you're done, or the rubbers are worn out, then you take those rubbers off and you put them on a cheap blade, or you put them on a different blade. Just practice that like a low stakes scenario, so that, yeah, you'll make mistakes in the beginning and all throughout really, but over time you figure it out, you learn it, and then you're able to kind of try different combos out without really relying on buying new stuff all the time, or someone gives you an old rubber, you can put it on this blade, you can put it on that blade. You can. At some points it's fun to experiment. For the most part, you got to kind of just stick with your equipment as much as you can. The less changes, the better. All right. So this one, like I said, I'm going to try to put it just offset a little bit so we can get the logo a little more in the middle. It's not going to be perfect. This one, put the logo in the middle. I left the plastic film on. That'll be good to go. Usually I try to stick to just 2 rackets at once, not to get too overwhelmed, but I can potentially start gluing that third one over there. No, I don't like that idea. I vetoed myself on that one. Keep those sponges over there. There. We're going to use the roller. Basically, when you apply it, you put down the first part. Really, you try to keep it as little as you can for that, and then, well, some people just put it down the first part like that and then roll it, but I like to roll the first part, but not stretching it, not putting too much pressure, just gently so it lays flat. Because you don't want air bubbles, but you don't want to stretch it and push it, because then when it dries, it pulls itself back. Or when it just kind of, if you stretch it too much, it doesn't even need to dry, it just pulls itself back. But if you get it down flat and then roll the pressure on, it's not stretched, but it is put down properly. And then you can use like books or weights. They have presses, or you don't have to, but I like to usually press it a little bit. That makes me feel better. I think a lot of things with table tennis just kind of like what you're used to doing, right? You don't have to put weight on it, but you can. Just like you could put 2 layers of glue on the sponge. You can put 2 layers of glue on here too. You can see this is almost completely dry. This is close, so that won't take too long. Like I said, this GWO glue dries quickly and it works pretty well. So actually, I used to not be a fan. Now I'm kind of a fan. Shout out GWO, or Hewo, as they say in Spain. That's where I got my first Hewo racket. But yeah, anyone watching, feel free to ask questions about assembly, or let me know what equipment you're using. Questions about table tennis equipment, table tennis in general. May have some good developments here soon as far as practice opportunities, fun play opportunities in the Tampa Bay area. Doing a little more coaching lately. Definitely been getting some good training in. Shout out to my practice partners. Been streaming some of it, not all of it. Some that we're keeping under wraps. Can't let you guys see all my training. Just kidding. If I could stream it all, I would, but sometimes it doesn't make sense, whether it's like the environment or the timing. Right? It's just life. Like one place I've been practicing is really cool, but they play music, and I can't stream live with music playing in the background. I think I'll get in trouble with the copyright stuff, but I'll work on that. For YouTube, I don't think there's much I can do except for put it on mute, which I might do anyway. But I think, I don't know, other platforms maybe, although I don't like the other platforms really. I like YouTube. Shout out YouTube. All right, so this is pretty much dry over here. I can put this on whenever I feel like it. I'll wait just another minute or so. So yeah, if you're checking in now or in the future, skip through. The main process is just putting the glue on, right? Apply it, one on the sponge, one on the blade. Wait about 15-20 minutes for it to dry clear. Wait till it's dry so they stick together. Pressure, leave them, cut them. Flip it over, do it again. Leave it. And then you can put edge tape onto the end like this. Different brands. Edge tape itself is not like a performance component, just kind of what you like, how it looks, if it's the right size for your racket and equipment, things like that. Style points, right? If you like a certain brand. When I was playing all butterfly stuff, I like my butterfly tape. Right now I'm playing the Xiome Hugo Howl blade with Roxas 7, so no butterfly stuff, but I still have the butterfly tape on. What's up, one viewer? All right, we're gonna glue the blue one on for you. All right, I appreciate you being here, putting up with me. This is still drying. So like I say, let's see. Put this here. Oh, I'll wait for one viewer to come back. But anyway. So when you do the first side, it's easy because you stick it on a flat surface, the handle goes right up to it. It's that. When you do the other side, you can't get it to, you don't have that same like pressure point, let's say. All right, so we got our Darnick roller. Also, it's a ball case / roller. I would say it's kind of the most convenient ball case and roller tool. So I recommend it. Hard plastic. All right, let's go. Let's see if we still got it. Try to get a little more space for myself over here for now. Like I say, if you're doing this stuff at home, then just give yourself as much space as possible. Don't clutter up your table with hats and racket cases. But if you're doing an assembly stream and you want to have things on your table, what can I say? All right, let's see. So this is with the plastic film on. Like I said, I'm actually not sure about that. I kind of like the other way, but what can I do? I like to keep the roller like close so I don't have to reach for it. So, hard sponge, plastic sheet. It's not going to show imperfections either way at the moment, until like later on, so it's kind of like a mystery box. But the nice part about having the plastic sheet on is then I can just turn it over like this and pressure it, which is nice. If I didn't have that, I'd have to use like the cardboard sleeve or something, which is not a major inconvenience, let's be honest. But I've seen enough people who assemble Hurricane 3 and Hurricane rubbers and stuff with the plastic sheets on for assembly that I said, I guess that's how I'm going to do it. Dignity Stone I see when it's new comes with the plastic film also. Most rubbers that are like sticky or like semi-sticky have a plastic film on them to protect them during shipment. And then most rubbers that aren't have just like a paper sheet. So let's look. Looks good. Shiny. Like a mirror. Can you see me in the mirror? Yeah. Anyway, let that dry a second. Now, these aren't boosted, right? So when you boost it, it's a little bit more challenging because the rubber wants to deform a little bit more, let's say. So the plastic sheet can help you in that sense. But then also, I don't know if that affects the quality of the boosting job. I see a lot of people do it either way. When I have boosted like old rubbers or these ones, I prefer to do without the sheet. But I'm not an expert in that area. That's why I play like playing 09C or the other ones, because I don't want to deal with that. Anyway, that's that. Leave that here for now. All right, this one's ready. You can see it's dried. And our 09C is dry. So, remember, we got to put this 09C down with a little bit skewed this way. So I can't put the butterfly thing all the way in the middle, but I can put it a little closer. I think we said the butterfly wings can line up with like the left side of the handle. But I'm not going to overdo it. It's better to have the rubber cover it properly. And then to have the logo set up right perfectly in the middle. So same idea. I got it laid down flat, and then I put the pressure. I don't roll like this on that first one because then it stretches it out, it pulls it. And then think about it. The glue's dry, but it's not strong yet until it fully dries. So you put it down, but you stretch it too much, and then it sits there and it pulls back on itself. Then the glue doesn't set the way you want it to. Now I should have got a plastic paper film for me to stick on there. Give me a second, so I can press it down. These are the paper things that come with most new butterfly rubbers. I try to keep them somewhere because they are convenient for this. You stick them down, then you can press your rubber on. Because this rubber, give me something. See, even though it's old, it still has a little grip and stickiness. So if you stick it on the table, it's gonna pick up dirt and all that. So I'd rather press it down like that. And you can see, okay, I left a little bit more than I need over here, but I wanted to be safe. And I centered it a little bit better than it was. Maybe next time when it goes on the next racket, it'll be slightly more centered. No, that won't work. Usually you can rehome a rubber like once or twice, but if you cut it each time or it's not the same size blade, you're gonna have trouble. So yeah, we got this one looking good. I'll cut that in a second, but I don't like using razor blade fence stuff. I'd rather use the scissors and get a little bit less of a perfect cut, but so yeah, this looks good. Looks like the blade's like a little bit imperfect in some spots, but it should be good. So what I'm gonna do is actually let those sit there just a bit. Stick a weight on there. I have a weight somewhere. I'll make those stick there just a bit. Well, I was gonna do that and then do this one, but we'll figure that out. Just need to keep enough. Improvise sometimes. Now I wish I had a little more space here. I could move these over there, but I don't want to mess up the whole workflow I've got going on, so we're just gonna do it like this. So this is the 729 blade, and we're gonna glue the H9 pink on there. So Hurricane 9, we got Hurricane 3, Hurricane 8, Hurricane 3. That's actually Neo, this is regular, and then Hurricane 9. I don't know all the differences. I wish, if I knew all the differences, I'd tell you, but I don't. I know this one's pink, that one's pretty clear. It's a pretty clear difference. Pretty interesting. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna leave on the plastic film. Yeah, looks good. So, that one's got a little bit of a curve to it. Maybe they boost it in the factory or something. That means I have to be a little more careful with the glue application, but it'll be all right. I'm not going to put too much on there. Let's see. Basically, if you put too much glue on a rubber that's got a curve to it like that, then it'll start to pool in the low points, and you don't want that. But you also have to make sure you put enough on. So it's a balancing act, but I think it'll be all right. This looks good to me. And then just spread it evenly, like I said. Sometimes you'll see these little like holes in the sponges. I don't know what that's about, but it's part from the manufacturer. If you find your sponge getting like a little dried out, you have to be a little bit careful because then it leaves those lines in there. So, like I said, I'm trying not to do too much, but I just want to make it a little more even. If you press down too much, more glue comes out of the sponge. That happens too, so you gotta be careful with that. You can kind of flip it around and see if that helps. I'm happy with that. Well, for completion's sake. There you go. That's good. All right, that's that one. This one here. What's up, Greg? How's it going, Greg Oozy? Greg Ooze. Thanks for saying hey. Sorry I didn't see it for a bit. I was focused. Trying to do a good job here. I can see there's a little bit of gunkiness on this one. Gotta be careful. Do my best. So I put a good amount of glue on this, maybe a little too much, but I can always kind of wipe it off. But like I said, this blade was showing like that it was very absorbent, and I wanted to be careful. I'm trying to get that piece off. Whatever's going on there. I'm gonna flip my sponge around. I can tell it was causing a little bit of trouble. You can definitely change your sponge as much as you want, as many of you as you want to like waste in a session. I'm trying not to waste sponges, but sometimes if it starts to dry out and you're like working for a while, you do have to change the sponge. Otherwise, it won't let you put glue on cleanly. That's good enough. Let me see if I can fix this over here just a little bit. Yeah, that's better. That's actually the blade has that bit on there. I'm not gonna mess with it more. The blade has a little bit of residue from the previous rubber. And like I said, sometimes you can mess with things a little more. Other times you gotta be careful. Let's see. No, that's it. Don't mess with it. It starts to dry quick sometimes. So that's gonna go on there, just a second. You can see it's actually a thinner layer of glue over there, but I'm not gonna worry about that aspect. It'll be enough glue still, and I'm not gonna mess with it. I should have potentially just left it the way it was, but it's all right. There's still glue there. And now I'm gonna go for another, because that's the only side I'm gluing on that racket. I'm doing these in just a bit. I'm gonna go for a new sponge because this one's causing a little trouble. Nice thing about water-based glue, it dries, you can just kind of rub it off stuff. What's up, 3 viewers? How's it going? Shout out again to Greg, shout out to Max. Feel free to say hi. I'm gonna get a new sponge, like I said, because I did those sides and then that, but then I could tell it was starting to get dry glue on the sponge, and that'll cause you problems. So you can wash the sponges later on if you really want to rinse them out and deal with that. That's that one. All right. So I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna start cutting these ones. We're gonna start with the 09C, I think. I don't know why. We'll cut this first. So we got the Hurricane here. Let's see. Let's see if it cooperates with the cutting. Always be careful not to drop the cuttings on the other stuff. So that cut pretty well. I have to fix up the edges just a little bit, but you can see pretty solid, decent cut. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that for now, but you can peel off the little bits of rubber that don't come off completely clean, but honestly, the side tape covers that, so it's not a big deal. Goal is just getting a good shape. So that's that one. Let's do the 09C. It's a little bit harder when you move a rubber onto another one. You have to leave yourself like enough to work with the cut, because if you don't, and it's just like a really thin sliver, there's like no way to really start it. At least not like where you normally start. Maybe you start at a different point and then make your way there. This is enough. My goal is just not to let that drop over the other stuff that I'm doing. It's pretty good. Like I said, I like to be able to wait a little bit before cutting when I put the glue on, so I can let the glue set just a little more. Anyway, those are good now. Letting this dry, then we'll start on this. Well, we'll start on this now, but just so. What I'll do is, in the meantime, kind of put the weight back on there just a bit. Although I'd rather have like the weight more evenly distributed, so I'm not gonna do that. Usually you'd put like a book and then you could put the weight. I had the weight set on there, but it's all good. Anyway, that was the black 09C. On this side, it's gonna go with red Hurricane 3. This is a black Hurricane 3. I'm gonna go with the red Hurricane H880. Let's see if we have space for all three. Yeah, I think we do. What's up, one viewer? How's it going? So, the only thing is, like, I can obviously line them all up like that, but there's not quite enough space for me to glue it. So I'll have to rearrange things a little bit when I do that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I put the new sponge on here because, like I said, it starts to make more streaks if it dries up too much. Like, some streaks are gonna happen no matter what, but if you find that when you're spreading it, it's like it's making channels in the glue, okay, maybe your sponge got a little messed up, or maybe you put a little too much glue, but either way, always double check, make sure you got a black side and a red side or a different color side. All right, if you don't, then you did something wrong somewhere. So yeah, Hurricane 3 is going here. I think it's a commercial Hurricane 3, 30, I don't know, did they make the 37 degrees? Yeah, I guess so. 37, 2.1. Yeah, they make those nowadays. Or they always made them, maybe. And then Hurricane H880. This one's becoming more and more popular, it seems like, especially for a backhand rubber. A little more bounce relative to a Hurricane 3. Although I don't think it's that bouncy still. Let's see if they show the speed and stuff on this one now. What about on this one? No. Never mind. I thought they were going to give these ratings on one of the other rubbers, but they're only here on this one. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Oh, maybe Hurricane 9's got it? Yeah, let's look. Real quick, well, because I would prefer to let this dry, glue it on, set it somewhere, and then I can mess with these colors. I'm not like in a super hurry at the moment. Maybe you are. Hurricane 9 Colorful Series featuring classic high stickiness adopts flexible pimples to make suitable for different types of sponge, bringing diversified styles. Hurricane 9 Pink, equipped with number 20 sponge, is great at spinning, in quotations, with stable and high-speed arcing ability as well as rich arc changes. It can exert powerful performance of quick attack and loop drive in close and middle table. Very good. Puts my reading skills to the test and these new retainers for my pronunciation or enunciation. I don't know the difference. Anyway, H880, high sticky rubber and high elasticity sponge. The rubber featuring both speed and control matched with the new number 80 high elasticity sponge can provide solid hand feel in short run and period. The excellent speed and precise control have maintained unique performance of the stickiness and spins of Hurricane series. Hurricane 880, lighter and more elastic, is suitable for forehand and backhand use, designed for 40 plus TT balls. All right. This one is higher on the power bar compared to H9. Lower on the point. I don't know what that means. Higher on the speed. A little lower on the spin. Same on the control. So DHS wasn't willing to concede on the control point. They said, these are all super control. I don't have those stats for this. And be careful comparing stats between brands, because every brand obviously is like marketing their stuff in a certain way. But you can look like it within a brand usually, and even that you should take like, not with a grain of salt, but carefully. Anyway, we'll start the staggering. Ooh, that one opened up nicely. Don't really have much of a smell. Sometimes rubbers have a smell when they come out of the package if they've been tuned. Hurricane 880. You can see the 8, the 9. Pretty cool packaging. Here, let me put this one over here now. Does that one have a 3? I don't see a 3. They missed the mark on that one. Could have put a 3. Same idea. Make sure the residue is not on there. Seems like even out of the box, there's little bits of residue on the sponges. I don't know what that's about. Can't blame me. Anyway, you can see this one's almost dry. It's getting there. Almost dry. So this part you gotta wait to dry a little more. This part's gotta dry a little more. I'll just continue with the preparation. Hurricane 3, 37 degrees, so it's softer. Let's say 39 degrees is normally like the basic sponge hardness for a Hurricane 3 Neo, which is what this type is. And then 40 if people are boosting. Powerful Neo sponge Hurricane 3 rubber with special glutenosity could create stable and high-speed arc, improve the scoring ability of players. Neo Hurricane 3 has a high-speed and low-fast loop, changeful arc, stronger spin. Okay, this is my favorite description so far because one, glutenosity. I'll have to look that one up. I'm not sure about that, but I like how it says it could create. Right, like they're not making any guarantees with this one. This is the commercial rubber, I think, so they're kind of like, you know what, it might work, it might not. If you want a guarantee, buy the nicer version. I respect that, right? Hurricane 3. This one's got the 3, right? They didn't miss the mark on that one. 389. Also has the plastic sheet. The reason I say this is the commercial one is because it has all 4 corners cut, and I'm pretty sure Provincial has 2 corners cut, and National has no corners cut. Sounds like a good slogan, right? Like, we don't cut any corners with our National version. You can see this one also has the sheet on the backside because technically the Hurricane 3 has a small layer of glue from the factory, or Hurricane 3 Neo, although you would never feel it and you can't really see it or anything. So to me, it's like the illusion of a glue layer or a boosting layer. Like it's there, but it's not. It really doesn't change anything, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, you know. Like I said, I'm not a DHS player, although I have played it at some point. I used to use Hurricane 3 on my all-round blade for a while as like a beginner, learned to spin. I like to say that's when I became a forehand player, when I put Hurricane 3 on both sides, because the backhand is very difficult, very challenging. So for better or for worse, that's how I ended up here today. What's up, 2 viewers? Quite a nice array at the moment. We can just sit here and admire it. We got the 3 blades, the 3 rubbers, the cardboard, the cases, the hats. You say, what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for this to dry a little more so I can just get it out of the way, if I'm being honest. If I'm being honest. So yeah, here's the Shasha blade. Sun Ying Sha, nicknamed Shasha. #1 in the world by a large margin. Always seems to close it out in the end. Even if you got her on the ropes, she's still there to win the match. Which can be a little frustrating if you're hoping for her opponents to do well. But you gotta respect the player. And the dominance, right? And this is the Ma Long blade. No one really more dominant than him at one point. Looks good. I think I did a good job with that one. I'm happy. That was an 09C from the other blade, so it was not going to be perfect. Can't strive for perfection out here. Well, you can strive for it, right? But you can't get hung up if you don't achieve it. All right, this is basically done. You know, there's a little white spot here, white spot there, little white spot there. So like, give it a minute or two, and then I'll do it. You can see where the glue ended up being a little thinner here, but I still think it's enough glue, so I didn't want to mess with it too much because, like I said, you sit there, you spread it around, and then you sit there and go, oh, I need to fix this, I need to fix that. And by the time you fix the few spots, all of a sudden you'll touch it in one spot, and it gets all messed up. And you're sat there either rubbing all the glue off, or you have to sit there and accept that you've made a grave mistake. Let's double check our notes, make sure before we glue anything else on. 729 blade, yep. Pink H9, yep. There you go. I don't know if you ever heard the phrase double check your double check. Our football coach told us that. It's a good one because then you don't end up going a few hours on the bus without remembering your helmet like one of my teammates did. And you look kind of silly, right? But if you're always double checking your double check, maybe it's a bit like overdoing it. So find the middle ground. Maybe single check your double check or double check your single check, or not sure how it works. All right, we're good. Let's go. Pink rubber going on. Give myself a little more space. So like I said, had that gentle curve from the beginning. You kind of gotta manage that as you apply it. It's very pretty rubber. Try and get it started right, and then I'll use the roller. So for me, the plastic film, it just makes me think it adds a little rigidity to the rubber, and that makes me worry sometimes about like it sticking exactly the way I want it to. But like I said, the trade-off is then these sticky top sheets don't collect dust while you're assembling, while you're storing them, like delivering to the person whose racket it is. So today I decided I would make that trade-off. I do like that I can just flip it over like that without putting another sheet, and I know that it's like completely protected from the dirt. So that one should be good. You can always use some elbow grease. Stand on it. Drive your car over it. Sit on it. Whatever you gotta do. Looks good. Pretty cool. We'll cut it in a bit. I think the biggest thing also with the plastic film is, the cutting's a little bit annoying if you're using scissors, I'll admit. Not sure how I feel about that. You'll see that once I assemble, I usually stick it with that new rubber down just so it has like a little weight on it to prevent like any easy pop-ups. Could put weight on it, but I'm not gonna do that at the moment. All right. Make sure we're doing things right over here. We got our Shasha blade and this. This is the Hurricane. Yeah, that's the Neo. That's this, right? That would be pretty sad if, like, at this stage in the game I messed up like that. I would never. Just kidding. Don't tempt fate. All right. Got this. Now it's time to put these ones. Trying to create a little more space. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. So it's just confusing me because they both have the same four corners and they both have red rubbers. But this is obviously the H3 Neo because of the little plastic thing, like I said. A little marks on the plastic, whatever that is. So I'll have to take that off in a second. In a few seconds. I'm just going over my tracks. Yeah, 2.1 for the H880, which goes on the Shasha blade. Yep, perfect. And then this one is, what's the thickness on this one? 2.1 also. All right. You okay? So you can see, actually this is a good example. Okay, so this one, that's what that sponge looks like. And then look at this one. There's like a shininess to it, right? That's the thin layer of glue / treatment from the factory on the Neo rubbers. So there is a difference, right? I'm not sitting here saying there's no difference. Unless you rewind it to where I said there was no difference. All right, back to work. So I got a new sponge again, but same idea. I'm not going to overdo the glue. It's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a light amount of glue. Could probably put a little more, but I think that's good. Light by my standards, at least. I'll put a little more on the blade then. My impression is this blade is not sealed. It takes the glue really quickly. I'm a little bit annoyed with that. It dried so quickly on this one. It happens, like I said, things happen. I'm making an evaluation in my mind what I want to do. What's up, two viewers? How's it going? So we run into our first little snafu, we'll call it. The glue dried really quickly on this blade. I don't think it's a sealed blade. And I'm looking because it's spread enough where it's going to dry pretty well. But it's not 100% even. And I mean, the good part is like the part where I noticed it was drying too quickly is down here at the handle. So that doesn't really matter. And I got glue over the whole surface. So I think we're just going to leave it. I think that's my executive decision, but I'm gonna mess with the sponge because, so that could be a glue thing actually. And I'm gonna get a new sponge one more time because I'm not gonna mess up the last part of assembly just because I don't want to waste sponges. I don't care about sponges. I'll admit though, that was quick because that was a new sponge and I only did that, so that happened quicker than I expected to cause a problem, but I'm okay with it. If I was, so look, that dried really quickly. Okay, I could almost put one more layer on the rubber just to make sure everything glues on there well. That's introducing more potential issues as well, but let me think for a moment. So I put a light coat on this one, and then this one I tried really quickly. I'm evaluating whether I want to put any more glue, potentially on that rubber. I think it's got enough glue on it though. All right, I see a hole. It's covered in glue. This has plenty of glue. It just dried really quickly because of the wood. So I'm gonna stick with that idea. And since it's drying so quickly, I'm actually not gonna, well, whatever. This one is gonna take longer to dry, so I might as well put more on, because this one's gonna take longer to dry because it has that neo layer of factory glue, let's call it, right? Smoother, so it doesn't absorb it as much. But it's not sticky, that's what I don't get. So how is it factory glue, but it's not sticky? But it is a film, whatever it is. But anyway, so technically in theory, this one doesn't need quite as much glue because of that, although I'm not buying it. These are heavier rubbers too, so it is nice if you can get away with not using too much glue. Yeah, it's still drying just a bit, so this essence of being quick. This one's dried pretty well last time, so I'm not gonna worry about that. There's always a fine line between putting like enough glue and too much glue. If you don't put enough, it dries quickly. It might start getting difficult to work with. If you put too much, then you mainly just have to make sure you keep spreading it out enough, but then kind of figure out the right time to stop spreading it. Otherwise, it'll also have the same problem. So that's good. Not gonna mess with that. What do we think? Are we just gonna assemble this with one layer on each? I think so. Because look, there's glue all over this. All right, dried clear, dried pretty even. There's glue all over this. Dried clear, dried very even. So we're gonna do it. Like I said, when you're doing the second side, you can't quite push it up against the table in the same way, but you got to make sure it's perpendicular to the table, the handle. And make sure you're not rolling into your other stuff. Press it down. All right, so it looks pretty good. Same idea, I'm gonna leave it this way down for now, just to let it settle. I could put a book on or something, but I think it's okay. So this one's gonna take longer to dry because, like I said, one, it's got the neo layer on it, takes longer to dry. Two, I put more glue on the blade, takes longer to dry, and also that blade was smoother, it wasn't absorbing. This blade absorbed it really quickly. I put an okay amount of glue on the blade itself, but the rubber I didn't put as much on. That's why that dried so quickly. Also, some sponges absorb glue differently. Anyway, time to cut this one, the pink one. Let's see. Me being smart, I'm gonna move things out of the way before I cut that so things can fall. Because not only like the big pieces can fall on what you're assembling, but the little pieces can fall, and that's annoying. I'm gonna cut it, but I'm gonna do better. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't like cutting with scissors with the film on. That's something I'm learning. So I'm gonna take this film off. Maybe if you're using a razor blade, it doesn't make a difference. But for the scissors, it seems to make a difference. They're also really hard sponges, which causes more trouble. I think the sponge is just really dense. Looks good. Pretty cool. Pink rubber. So that one I took the plastic off because I think, like I was saying, I think mainly this sponge is like super dense on this one, the H880. But also then when combined with having that plastic film on, my scissors were not getting through it the way I needed it to, so. And then since I've done that, I need to put something under it when I stick it down so nothing gets stuck on it. Always like to make sure it adheres again a little bit. And then you gotta be careful too. Like say you do stick something under this, but since it's got some stickiness to it, then when you pull it up, it might pull it down. But yeah, it looks good. I'm happy with that. That's the pink H9 on the backhand of the black carbon blade. Yeah, so we got that. And since that's the newly assembled one, I'm gonna stick it like that. You can check that one off the list. And we finished the paleo earlier, and then we're just waiting to cut that one. May or may not take the plastic sheet off that one. I'd rather leave it on if it's possible, but if it's causing my scissors trouble again, then I don't know. And then it's time to assemble this one pretty soon. We're done with the glue, done with the sponges. Wasted, well not wasted, but used a few sponges today. I don't usually have that problem, but for whatever reason, it was causing me a problem. It's gotta dry a little more. It's already done. So that tells you, one, I put a little too much glue on the blade. Not too much glue, but I put a lot. Still drying. These are where it was delaminated before, so that's not glue. And then this, it's dry. We have our extra rubber cuttings. I could save that plastic that I cut off, but I didn't do a good job of doing that right away, so. Could use that as like a racket case holder maybe. Let's see. Let's see if it works. In theory, a racket would be a little bit bigger because it'd have two rubbers on. But let's see if this fits the way I think it could. All right, you got like a little makeshift racket holder. I've seen worse. Put the green in there just for fun for now. Do a little cleanup over here. And then I'll be back to put that on. Yeah, I'll check the NBA scores. So yeah, we're at the home stretch now. If you got any questions, if you're watching, feel free to ask. What's up? How many minutes? What's up? Good question, Hassan. So it depends on the glue, depends on the rubber, but I would say 15 minutes is around the average. Basically, rather than knowing exactly the time, you put it on good table tennis glue like this. It's water-based glue. It goes on like opaque or white, and then it dries to almost completely clear. So the idea is more, you wait until it's dry enough where it's clear, and that's when you know it's time to glue. Because basically, the way it works, it dries, but then it's sticky. And then that's when you kind of glue it together and it forms its final bond. If you can glue it a little earlier, but you don't want to. Just that's not how it's made. So yeah, usually 10, 15 minutes, let's say, on a sponge, a little quicker for a blade in general. Some people use a blow dryer or a little fan or something to make it go quicker. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Thank you for your question, Hassan. Appreciate it. Any other questions, I'm always happy to answer. Here in the chat or in comments on videos, you can always ask. And like I say, it's good skill to learn assembly, because then you can mix and match rubbers from your old blades. You can try out different combos, and like for a while with table tennis, 1, it's fun. 2, it's a good way to understand how things go together, what works best for you, what works best on a specific blade. And then, you never know. Your friends need you to assemble rackets for them. You can do it. You can help. Things like that. So yeah, this one, we're not doing anything with. I just wanted to put it there for a second. And then we're going to finish this one. We'll cut this one. Like I say, when I'm doing my rackets these days, I actually wait a while to cut them because I like to let it set as much as possible and then cut. Because what happens when you cut, it pulls on the edge just a little bit, and then that makes it so it doesn't adhere on the edges quite as much as it could. Whereas if you let it glue, let it sit, it gets real strong, and then when you cut it, it's easier. Let's see. Let's check out this one. So this was the pink H9 rubber. Looks good to me. Like I say, the good thing about the hard sponge rubbers is they don't show issues more. So you have a little more tolerance for like messing up. But I don't think I messed up. I think I did a good job. So that's that one. Got this one. That side looks good. This side, it ended up being a little bit high somehow. It moved up on me. Anyway, that's all right. It'll work out. We'll cut that. I'm considering. I kind of like cutting without the film. I kind of like assembling without the film, to be honest. Maybe next time I'll just take the film off. But yeah, that's a little bit higher than I expected. All right. This is pretty much ready. See, it's all clear. Don't mind the beige spots. That's like a problem with the blade. I'm not sure what happened there, but they were filled in with something. So yeah, clear, glossy. That's when you know it's ready. Same with here. When I put it on, it was all white, but now it's like that. All right, let's do this one. So always keep the blade or the roller handy. Like if you have the roll out there, then you kind of put it on, you're having to reach. I like to keep it kind of closer or right here, then I can use it. I do think it works easier without the plastic film on these rubbers, the more I think about it. Let's get this lined up. Something always seems to go wrong at some point. It's a little bubble, I think. I'll try and get that out. So yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering too about using the plastic things, how bubbles can be handled, but I think you can figure it out. I think I just managed that. Oh, I think that's the edge of the blade. Okay, that's all right then. Because if the blade has imperfections on the edges, then you'll see that. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, okay, it's those parts of the blade that were kind of broken. It's all right. Means it wasn't my fault. Yeah, so we'll let that dry a little more. I'll cut this one. Take this film off because it's annoying me the way it looks there. I'm gonna see what I can do. Okay, yeah, it's just from the blade up there. See if I can fix that. Remember where those like streaks were, like I was saying, where it came delaminated? So it doesn't lay completely flat, but I'm not sure there's anything I can do besides like leave weight on it, and then over time it should fix itself. Yeah, remember that was the bigger one. Was okay. I won't worry about it too much. This one, I'm also gonna take the plastic film off again because I don't like cutting with the plastic film. I think I've decided that. Assembly wise, it looks good though. Let's cut it. So I managed to leave the plastic on this one and cut it, but then I decided I wasn't doing that anymore. So like I say, there's always little things that come up in assembly. You gotta do your best, persevere, and I don't know, don't cry if it goes wrong. Just figure out how to fix it or do better next time and live with it. Looks nice. Yeah, it definitely cuts better without the plastic. Okay, so we'll make a mental note for that. Just take the plastic off. I mean, okay, it's not like that side's cut bad or anything. And then you still get to keep the plastic on, but whatever. This one. Let's see if I can stick the plastic back on. No, gross already. But it is nice and sticky. So this one, quite happy about. Looks good. Got the plastic still on that side. Couldn't keep it on this side, but that was an executive decision I made. But yeah, it looks good, looks perfect. You don't get to say that too often. This one, well, you figure, I moved this 09C from a different racket, but it looks pretty good. And then this side, it's not perfect because of those ridges, but I think it's pretty good. We'll see. Let's cut it. Cut it now? Well, I'll cut it in just a second because I just glued that one. Yeah, if you're just joining in, feel free. Any last minute questions now or in the comments if you watch this in the future. I'm going to figure out how I want to kind of store these to make sure they're like protected. Let's see how I feel about this storage solution. It's okay, but I stuck it in the bag, but now I can't get it out, so I have to. Okay, I have to remove it. There goes that idea. It got too stuck to the plastic. And I don't want to peel it off because I could put too much force on it right now after just being assembled. Anyway, not that you asked. Like that. So this one's good. Well, I can't really weigh it with the plastic film on, but I think it's only an extra gram, so maybe I will still. Let's cut this last one. So yeah, good idea is like kind of put pressure on the rubber near where you start the cut, because that part is always a little bit tougher to get going. Then you get it going. This one's cutting nicely. This is the 37-degree Hurricane, so not a very, or a softer sponge than the other ones, so it's a little easier to cut. This is gonna be a cool setup. The 09C forehand, H37 on the backhand. That looks good. So this one, I was sitting there like crying for a second, but actually it's pretty awesome. And like I said, the blade itself had the imperfections. So one thing I noticed too, when I have those plastic films on, I put it on, it seems to like, I set it here and think it's all the way down, but then it moves up just a bit. So that's another thing. Nice grip to the Hurricane 3. They aren't as grippy as they used to be. They're still very, very nice. So give me a second with that. Do a little cleanup here. I'll get an extra paper or two so I can set everything out. We can look at them, admire them. Give me a sec to not knock everything over. Oh, here, I can go like this. This one with the plastic cut okay, but I would prefer to put the pink on like this. So, give us a moment to admire our work. It's pretty good. What do you think? Do we like leaving the plastic film on for future ones? Because then you can like give the person the racket with the film on. It's kind of like a neat, oh look, you got a new racket type thing. Or is it like pointless? I think it's nice, but I wouldn't do it to sacrifice like better assembly by taking off the label or the film. Take this off. So yeah, we got the H9 pink on the right. We got the black Hurricane 3 in the middle. Black 09C there. Yeah, so these things are sticky, you can see. Now I gotta clean that off too. Little piece of sponge. Give me a second with that. So I'm cleaning off the glue clip. If you do your maintenance, then next time it'll be nice and ready for more assembly. What's up, one viewer? Just about finished. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't think I'm gonna. I could weigh the rackets and we could just. I can definitely weigh them all along the blade. How about that? We'll glue away. Worked pretty well. The sponges let us down in that one moment, but I don't think it made a difference in terms of actual assembly. And quite happy overall, because like I said, the only thing that was bothering me was like the imperfection on this red rubber, but that's from the blade delaminating, and that wasn't for me. That was a previous issue that I can't do anything about. Give me a second. myself back. Oops, these. Alright, so first, go to our checklist. Shasha blade, H3, H8, check. Although it might not be a clone, it might be the real thing. Ma Long blade, 09C black, H3 red, check. Okay, those are done. We're done checking for the day. Checks are checks. Now let's weigh this real quick. Any guesses? Any guesses, anyone out there? One person, this is your chance, you could guess this perfectly right. You won't win the blade, but you win my admiration. The blade itself, 90.62 grams. Dignings on IC when it's cut is about 49 grams, let's say. Yeah. 50 grams, let's say. So 50 plus that, so 140.5, let's say. Then you got to guess the weight of the Hurricane 3, which I'm going to say is close to the Dignix. I don't know. So let's say 100. I'm going to go with 100. Oh, it actually doesn't feel that heavy. Feels nice. Oh yeah, that 50 is on my Harimoto, so actually it has a little less on this blade. So let's say 48. 48 plus 48, 96 plus 90, 186. I'm going to go with 186 grams. Oh my gosh, 183. I could have felt that. It felt lighter. Good. Wow. I'm proud. That's a good racket. No wonder Ma Long uses it. So 182.87 grams for the Ma Long. I like that weight for a racket. That's actually what I think that's what my Zion's around right now. That's nice. Okay, we'll do the Shasha, but keeping in mind there's a plastic film on it on one side, but I'm pretty sure the plastic film is like 1 gram. Actually, we can weigh that. Let's see. Happen to have a couple plastic films right here. 1.46 grams. So we'll call it, 1.4 grams. But it's not all the way, it's cut. Okay, 1.2 grams. All right, let's see. That one's heavier. 195.5 minus 1.2, like 194.3. But I'm gonna have to write down those calculations. 195.57 minus film equals 1.3-ish. So 194.3, let's call it. That's heavier, no doubt about it. That's 2 Hurricane rubbers, so a Hurricane rubber on both sides. Doesn't feel that heavy, honestly. I wouldn't have guessed that much. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't feel that bad. It feels balanced, at least. It doesn't feel like all the weight's down here or something. Maybe the handle is got some good weight to it, so it feels balanced in the hand. Feels nice. I don't think that's a problem weight. I don't see that as an issue. Start there. I'll clean this one up just a bit in a second. I'm going to weigh my Hugo blade real quick, too. I got to clean this up because it's kind of gross. Whoops. Almost knocked everything over. Still good. Real quick, just for science. Got to weigh my current racket. 185.6. Alright, whatever. It's a little heavier than it could be, but it works. I'll write that down. Hugo Howell and Roxas 7. Well, it's actually Roxas 7 hard. Roxas 7 goes 185.6. And that blade's like 86, 87 grams. So approximately 100 grams worth of rubbers on the Roxas 7. So they're not light either, right? Don't let anyone tell you differently. What's up, one viewer? Any questions before I head on here? We're all done. We made it. That's my racket. Yellow bar. Alright, so if no one has any questions about racket assembly, you can always check the other assembly videos or write a comment. Reach out to me somehow and check it out. All good. You can see my racket actually doesn't have a perfect assembly at the moment because I had to re-glue the edges a little bit. That's on me. But yeah, alright. Thanks for being here. Shout out. See you later.